Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm here tonight to follow up on a question that I asked the Minister of Justice just back in June. So the question I asked was, Madam Speaker, violent crime has risen 32% since the Liberals formed government in 2015. This is a fact across all of Canada, including in my riding, where I'm reading local headlines titled, "Arrested Again," for participation in a criminal organization, failure to comply with a probation order, 11 counts of knowledge of possession of a firearm while prohibited, 2 counts of disobeying a court order, and 2 counts of a breach of a weapons prohibition. When will the Liberal government repeal their soft on crimes policies? Sorry, Madam Speaker, that was a question I actually asked the government in 2022. Let me get to the right question. Madam Speaker, I asked the government talked about and highlighted the need for our current bail system to be improved. Changes need to happen. I have 2 simple questions for the government. Does the government agree this is an urgent problem? How much time is realistic to address this urgent problem and make the necessary changes to our bail system here in Canada? And here's the answer I got from the government. Quote, Madam Speaker, no one piece of legislation is going to fix the issue of bail reform in our country. As the member was trying to say, this is a multifaceted problem. The government needs to engage the provincial, territorial, and regional governments, and they need to ensure that they have the support they need to administer justice. Over the past 7 years, the Liberal government has been slowly putting in place legislation that is helping to improve the bail system and the bail regime in Canada. Madam Speaker, my apologies. That was a question I asked in February of 2023. The actual question I just asked here in June. Madam Speaker, crime has been rising in my riding since the Liberals formed government, and justice is too often delayed for victims. According to the latest Owen Sound Police Services annual report, violent crimes are up 14.6%. My communities are worried. To make matters worse, more than 10% of the cases are now exceeding the Jordan limit, delaying justice further. When will this Liberal government reverse its soft on crime legislation and adopt a common sense plan to keep violent offenders behind bars and ensure victims and their families get the justice they deserve? The response I got from the Minister of Justice at the time, he seems to think it's all good news, that they're going to advance this reform policies that are going to stiffen bail proceedings and adopt more serious sentences for violent repeat offenders, and that we can expect this later this calendar year. So, Madam Speaker, that answer wasn't good enough. This has been an urgent problem, as I highlighted, that I'm just one of so many Conservative MPs that have been raising this question over the last 4 years. This is an urgent issue that needs to be addressed. So I followed up with the Parliamentary Secretary just last week and asked the same question about when is this mythical bail reform bill that's going to come out this fall, and whether fall is before December 12th, and could we nail that down? And again, the Parliamentary Secretary refused to answer the question. He just said it would be out this fall. So, Madam Speaker, that's all I'm looking for. I'm just looking for clarity as to when this fall will the government table this urgently needed bail reform legislation. I just want a time frame, as it takes time to get legislation through the parliamentary system. The track record of this Liberal government isn't great for getting legislation right the first time, so I'm confident it's going to require amendments and improvements so it works. So can the House expect this bail reform tomorrow, next week, before the end of November, or will the government be tabling it on December 12th, the last day of this fall session?
Honorable Secrétaire.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Madam Speaker, I rise today to speak to bail and criminal law. I would like to start by talking about stories about repeat offenders being released on bail. These cases raise serious questions about the balance between public safety and individual rights, and I would like to give my condolences to the families of Bailey McCoy and Abdul Faling. And our Liberal government is committed to fighting crime and to protecting the safety of Canadians. In our platform for 2025, we promised to focus on bail reform and laws surrounding serious crime. Canadians gave us a clear mandate to act, and we will do so, whether it be for auto theft, crime related to organized crime, human trafficking, or others. The Prime Minister and the Minister of Justice have reiterated their commitment in the fall. We will be tabling a bill in order to tighten bail, and I hope that my honourable colleague will be satisfied with this response. As you know, this is something that is shared responsibility with the provinces and territories. The federal government works closely with provinces and territories, including with organizations responsible with applying the law, and are looking for efficient solutions. These matters will be at the heart of discussions between ministers in October during the FPT meetings of ministers responsible for justice and public safety. Last year, with the former Bill C-48, we tightened the rules for violent offenders and those using firearms. That bill also strengthened legislation for protecting victims of conjugal violence. All the provinces and territories supported this, including Conservatives. That said, we know that there is still work to be done. Our government recognizes the importance of continuing to strengthen the criminal code regarding bail. But I can say that the federal government is continuing to listen and to bring the necessary changes to respond to concerns. Madam Speaker, I would like to highlight that it is interesting to see the strategy chosen by the Conservatives regarding recommendations on reforming the bail system. Last week, on their three strikes law, it is absurd. This proposal has failed everywhere it has been tried. It comes straight from the United States. I don't know if the opposition has been paying attention since the last election, which it lost so decisively, but Canadians want laws made here in Canada. We agree that action must be taken to keep violent repeat offenders off our streets, but this is Canada, not the United States. And the Canadians that I represent in La Prairie at Atatakan want it to stay that way. Madam Speaker, this fall we will introduce legislation to strengthen our bail system, and I call on all parties to put partisanship aside and work with us to deliver the evidence-based solutions that Canadians expect and deserve.
For Bruce-Grey-Owen Sound.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think the Parliamentary Secretary, he failed to answer my question. And in fact, he responded in a very similar reply that I actually laid out in my earlier speech about with the same answer. Oh, we need to work on this. We need to talk about this. Now, he did provide a little bit of greater clarity because now at least he said that they're going to have a meeting with the FPT, and then they're doing that. They're doing that sometime in October. So that just tells me we're not going to get an answer to this question until likely November, or see this bill reform until at least into the November timeframe. So he has given me a slight clarification. My point, Madam Speaker, is this is urgent. It's the same thing I brought up in 2022, 2023. We need this bail reform now. Please table it so we can work together to make it the best possible bail reform needed for Canada to make Canadians safe. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
L'honorable secrétaire.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Madam Speaker, I'm hearing the urgency. We share those expectations, but I would like to remind him that we have C2 that we need to vote on, and bills will follow in that order according to the importance given to them by the House. So I would invite my colleagues across the room to participate and collaborate entirely. We have better data on bail, and we will be better placed to propose measures that will ensure that we will keep repeat offenders